All right. Well, welcome everybody to the weekly Shop-Ware webinar. You're probably familiar with my face by now. My name is David Tolkien. I am the Director of Business Development here at Shop-Ware, a cloud-based shop management system. Very excited to present today's topic to you because I know it is one that is pressing and is on everybody's mind. Today, we're going to be talking about techs and recruiting and job boards and how to get top talent into your repair shops. I am joined by Elie Massabki, who's the founder and CEO of Mechanics and Body Shop Marketplace. They are a company focused on addressing really what is the biggest pain point, I think, today, or at least one of the biggest pain points, which is recruiting, hiring, and retaining top talent. I can certainly tell you that, out of the dozens of shops that I speak to on a weekly basis, it is pretty frequent that someone brings up the idea and starts talking about, recruiting techs and saying, if I had enough people, I could take on more cars. So, but Elie is a corporate executive. He has recruited, hired, led, and coached small and large teams and managed businesses, all the way up to 100 million. He enjoys, speaking to shop owners on social media and face-to-face and brainstorming ways to improve the industry. His company's new web and mobile success-based app transforms really, this space and how, techs, how shops and owners are looking at recruiting and hiring by adding different levels of screening and accountability to the process. He holds a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering with a minor in Automotive Technology, and he has a master's degree in Business Administration. So definitely very excited to have him here today. And without further ado, I'll pass controls off to him, let him introduce himself a little bit, and we will get started. So it's all yours.
Thank you, David. Thanks for the introduction here. Let me bring up my slides.
As always, I'll say if you have any questions, feel free to put them into the Q&A, and I'll be monitoring that during the day and kind of passing that off to Elie throughout the presentation. So looks like we can see your screen, so we are good to go.
All right, excellent. Again, hello everyone. My name is Elie Massabki, and just to give you some background, I started the company about 3 years ago, and I went around and talked with a lot of shop owners like yourself, try to find out what their pain points are, what their problems are. And it was clear that technicians was one of the biggest issues in the industry. Did a lot of research and really found out that one of the biggest problems we have is, as you probably all know, there's just not enough blood coming into the industry. And more than 50% of the technicians are over the age of 50. They're retiring fast. Some of them are leaving the industry. And then we're not having let's say, replenishments. So that's one of the main problems. And we've been kind of looking to see how do we solve this problem and what is going on and how are people working with it right now and what can we do differently and better. So what I'm going to talk, there's really 4 things I want to talk about today. 1, the state of employment in the industry. 2, we're going to talk about why job boards don't work for technicians, because that's your primary source. You go to job boards, of course, after you ask your tools guy, you ask your friends, your buddies, put signs out, and after that funnel dries out very quickly, you go back to job boards. So we'll talk about job boards a little bit. Another thing I want to share with you is some of the habits that we've seen from some of the most successful business owners out there. We're talking about the people that have maximized their profitability, have multiple shops, and something kind of interesting, having talked with many of these clients of ours in terms of things they do that maybe you guys can benefit from. And lastly, who hasn't been ghosted so far? So I want to talk about how do you avoid or try to reduce the amount of ghosting you get from applicants that you engage with. So let's start with the state of the industry. So one question that people ask me all the time, why do we have a shortage of technicians now? We went through pandemic, many businesses have slowed down. Very small businesses, mom and pop shops have actually closed their doors because they couldn't survive. So technicians got displaced. So what is going on? And even dealerships haven't come back to the level they were at before the pandemic. So there should be an abundance of technicians out there. So why can't you find them? Well, I mean, there are a couple things. One is, let's go back to where we were before the pandemic. And this is a very good market research that the American Diesel training centers put out. And this is back in April of last year, but it's still valid. And it shows you that before COVID, there was a shortage of about 65,000 technicians in the industry. And they're saying that post-COVID, it will still be about 35,000 shortage. So that tells you that it kind of explains why you still can't find them. The ones that are leaving their existing jobs, that are being let go or furloughed, they're going out finding jobs very, very quickly because there's just such a huge shortage of technicians out there. Now, the other thing you have is that, and we've seen some technicians have been furloughed or have been told by their owners, hey, why don't you go take some vacation, take some time off, go on unemployment, and we'll call you back when business comes back. Now, some of these people are saying, okay, well, great, they're enjoying their unemployment. Some of them are nervous to come back because they're worried about their health. And then the ones that are in their jobs, that were thinking of changing jobs, are just saying, well, there's too much uncertainty out there. I'm going to stick to my current job. So these are some of the dynamics that we're seeing along with the chronic shortage that hasn't gone away. So that is the problem. Now, how are we going to solve this in the long term? This is a long-term problem. And as you know, many automotive associations, many groups throughout the country are trying to solve this at a micro level, trying to find a way to bring new blood into the industry. I think a lot more needs to be done. I mean, we have a lot of thoughts and ideas on this, but it's not going to happen overnight. So what you need to do is figure out, okay, in the short term, what do we do? How do we get techs as quickly as possible? So let's talk about job boards, right? So you've exhausted your network, people you talk to. Hey, how can I find a tech? You know someone. Now you go to job boards. So job boards are designed so that if you typically post a job, there's an abundance of applicants and a much fewer number of businesses hiring. So in that model, that works. You post an ad, you get a bunch of applicants, you pick the ones you want, you like, you bring in for interviews, multiple interviews, then you screen them out and you get the one that you like. Well, unfortunately, now we're in a situation that I call a reverse funnel, which means you have very few qualified applicants coming in and applying on these jobs. And there's a huge number of shops around you trying to hire these same people. So there's this huge competition. And for most successful businesses, it's not a matter of how do you get customers in the door. It's a matter of how do you service these customers? Do you have the technicians available to do the work? So this is a fundamental problem you have here. Now, this gets worse once you look at the bigger picture and you look at, okay, now you don't just have one job board where you go and post your ad. The market is extremely fragmented. So even your biggest job board, which is, I would say, probably indeed the largest job board out there, they have a maximum of about 30% of the applicant pool that's out there. Now, you're going out there and you post your job. Now, just think about it. You're only targeting 30% of everyone that's out there. So the guy the person you're looking for, maybe on another job board and you're not there. So, and you just cannot afford to go and in terms of time and cost to go to every single job board and advertise everywhere. It's just very time consuming. You typically don't have the time to do this. It's almost a full-time job. It's just very cost prohibitive to go place ads on every single one of these. And most of these job boards are auction based. So if you go to Indeed, Well, if you pay more money, you're going to show up on that first page for longer. No one guarantees you're going to be there forever, depending on where you are. And that's a challenge. So you want that visibility on that first page, because guess what? These top applicants, they don't go beyond the first page. They come in, they look at that first page of the job board. They find 2, 3, 4 jobs that they like. They apply for these, and they're done. They go for interviews, and the next day, next 24 to 48 hours, they have a new job. That's the way that the market is. So you have to, constantly look at these. You have to move very quickly, act very quickly, and be very responsive. So it could get very expensive, and you have to end up placing many ads. And these job boards, they have no accountability. You place your ad, hey, you find someone, great. If you don't, well, time's up, place another ad and put more money into the system. So we're trying to address these shortcomings. And it's a huge job. Obviously, it's very cost prohibitive to address this on a national basis. But we have come up with a solution where, again, our goal is accountability. You should not be paying unless until you get the results, until you hire. So we're trying to change this model, but we're doing it one step at a time, and we're going from state to state to do this. So if you are interested right now, if you're in California, we have a program that we're launching here very soon, and then we're going to be moving to other states very quickly throughout the year. So if you're interested, just let me know. I'll explain that program. But this is really not the point of this presentation. I just want to present you with the challenge you have and some of the things that you need to do today in the current market, and how you have to be selective on the job boards. You have to act very quickly, and you have to be very responsive. So we'll talk about some of the things some advice here, especially from top shops in terms of what they're doing. So couple pieces of advice here on some things that you could spend a lot of time on, and they're not going to give you good results. So one of them is, I caution you against resume databases. If you paid attention to what I said earlier, the applicant goes to a job board when they need a job. They go to their favorite job board, whatever it is, whether it's Indeed or ZipRecruiter or Facebook or Glassdoor or whatever that job board is. They look in there, they don't spend a lot of time. They find the job they want, they apply, and they're out. That's really what they do. So these resume databases are a combination of a lot of people that already have jobs. So these people are not looking for new jobs. So you can go and people say, hey, you can get this list. And so some of these companies will send you database, say, hey, you can post your job and we'll send you resumes. And yes, you can get resumes, but it doesn't mean these people are actually actively looking for a job. So you can end up spending a lot of time. They tend to be fairly inexpensive. We have a very large database, but we'll never just go say, hey, why don't you give us some money and we'll send you some names? Because at the end of the day, our focus is on results. You got to be able to hire the person you want, and that person needs to be there. And so just watch out about these resume databases, because you can spend a lot of time, and it gets very frustrating because you approach these candidates and they don't reply back. It's like, what's going on? I thought you're looking for a job, but actually most of these people are not actively looking. The other one I want to caution you about, and it's a job board that starts with the letter C and ends with IST. It used to be very popular 10 years ago, but most of the good technicians have actually exited this job board. There are a lot more effective, easy to use, and productive job boards out there. And that's where they're going. So they're leaving this job board to go elsewhere. Is it cheap? Yes, it's very cheap. Should we do it? Yeah. As long as you do it, hiring is all about timing, and it's about casting as wide of a net as possible so you can catch that great fish. So should you advertise there? Sure, why not? but don't make that the only place where you go and look for talent. You got to go look on the bigger job boards. You got to go look where most of these qualified technicians go. So another point I want to touch on is hiring locally versus relocating. Now, if you are in a small remote town, you have no choice but to try to look outside of where you are. That's a given. If you are, on the other hand, if you're in a very expensive area, then it's going to be very difficult to attract talent into where you are because it's very expensive to live in there, like in some parts of California. So let's talk about the pros and cons here for a minute. So relocating someone is definitely more expensive. You have to pay for getting them over for a trial period. We definitely recommend doing a trial. You don't want to just hire someone and just have them come in without getting to see how they do. You want to minimize your risk. So you have to pay upfront to get them to your shop, maybe having them pay for their hotel for a few days, whatnot. So it definitely is more expensive to do it that way.
Elie, I'm just real quick. Sorry to cut in for a second, but I'm just curious if there's anybody out there that has actually relocated a tech. Do you want to just put it in the chat? I'm just curious to see, anybody here listening, if they've done that. So, if you have successfully, if you've done that in the past, if you have, hired and relocated a tech and brought them in, just put it in the chat, maybe little details, and we could talk about it. Sorry to cut you off there, but go ahead. I was just curious to see what everyone out there had to say.
No, this is a great question, David, and I think it'll be good to. I'd love to have this be a little bit more interactive, and I'll take maybe a short pause here, and maybe we'll do a little poll, and then people that have questions, we can have a mini discussion here. We want to have most of the questions towards the end,
okay, we'll launch that poll. It's there, so if you're out there, feel free to answer this poll that's out there right now.
Yeah. So. Can we see the results instantaneously, David, on those?
Yeah, we'll just give it we'll give it 30 seconds and let everybody just kind of, register their votes, and then we'll see what they have to say. But I am curious if anybody has taken a tech and relocated it, put it in the chat. Maybe we'll unmute you. I'd like to hear your experience with that. So if anyone's done that, just chat me and let me know when you're done filling out this survey.
Yeah, that's a good question. I should have added it to the polls. Actually, it'd be good to know. But the other thing so I'll finish this and then we can go through the poll results, David, if that's okay.
Yep.
So the other con here for relocating is, of course, time delays. It's going to take anywhere from 60 to 90 days to bring someone over. That's because what you want to do it, and it's a process. It's not just, hey, you got the job, come in, show up on Monday or in 2 weeks. You have to bring them in for a trial. You have to make sure that they have to sell this to their family. You have to make sure this is the right person. They're convinced, because you want to minimize your risk as much as possible. It's a bigger expense. You want to minimize that. Now, there are many pros, however, and the pros are, first of all, you get a much bigger talent pool. Just to give you an example, when we do a local search, let's say on just one job board, let's take Indeed. Typically in a month we get maybe 10 to 15 applicants. If we do the same search on a nationally, we get 100 plus applicants. So you get a much bigger talent pool to choose from. You also get higher quality employees. Now you can afford to take the time to screen them properly, put them through proper assessments, and really do your recruiting the way it was meant to be done. Minimizing your risk, picking the best of the best, and doing all the assessments and discussions and interviews that you need to make sure, yes, this is the best person for me, and this one meets all the qualifications, and this is someone who's going to be with me for the next 10 years. So when you relocate, you can afford to do this, and typically you're going to get usually, not always, but you can always, if you do, you have more time to do your homework, and then you end up with a better employee. And the employees usually they want to relocate. They're excited about moving to the new area. It's new, that the new sense. It's not just a new job. It's a new area. It's a new experience. So you have employees that come in. They're normally very highly energized coming into your shop. And sometimes it's only again, as I said earlier, it may be the only option based on your location. So if you are in a small remote town and in the center in one part of, let's say, Nebraska or Idaho, you're in the middle of farmland. There aren't too many shops around you. It could be anywhere. It could be in this Central California. You're not, you don't have a lot of talent around you. So you have no choice but to look elsewhere and consider relocation. So maybe now we can take a look at the polls and see, has anyone answered your question, David?
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna unmute Jonathan Ortiz real quick right here, who says he has had some experience. Jonathan, you should be able to speak. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about your shop, where you're at, what your experience was like from bringing techs in from another place?
Certainly, be happy to.
Awesome.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, my name is Jonathan. I'm from Foreign Affairs Auto in West Palm Beach, Florida. So I've had some experiences with hiring out-of-state technicians, but unfortunately, it hasn't been the best experience. In the last 5 years, I have hired 3 technicians from out of state. Complete relocation, complete change of environment, change of state, and unfortunately, none of those 3 technicians are still with me today. So, yeah, those were unsuccessful hires. I do receive a lot of applications from out-of-state technicians. I want to say it's our organization and our job ad that's attracting it, but I think it's sunny South Florida. I think it's the climate and weather here that is the biggest attractant. So, why were they unsuccessful? In our hiring process, I don't think that gives me the same opportunity to get to know them. The in-person interviews. The technicians in our area, they have a reputation, so I'm able to check job references, know of them, know who they are. So you're flying a little bit blindly. I guess it's just more of a hit or miss chance.
Yeah. So I'm just curious, Jonathan. So it wasn't a technical situation, right? Like it wasn't a competency issue. It was a not jiving with your team issue. Like where were things lacking?
Yeah, of the 3 applicants, a little bit of both. We had one of them that just did not fit in culture-wise during the whole interviewing process. I thought it was going to be a good fit, but then when she gets in, in a month, 2 months down the road, and now you're ready to get to know that person, it wasn't a good fit. The other applicant, we did run into competency concerns. We're a specialty shop, we're a Euro shop. So unfortunately, that person did not have it wasn't able to keep pace. It wasn't able to provide the level of work that we expected.
Got it.
Hey, Jonathan, just quick question, just curious. Did you bring them in for a trial period? Did you do reference checks on them before? Did you put them through assessments? Did you do any of that stuff? Because we found that doing these things really help in terms of screening these candidates.
Yeah, apparently I wasn't thorough enough. I did feel that I did do the reference checks, the interviewing, I guess I did some assessments. We do some job fit assessments, but apparently I didn't dig deep enough. So, what did I learn from that? If I do, I'm not going to discard looking into a technician from out of state, but I will dig deeper and I will just be more cautious and spend more time in the interviewing process with that person than I may with somebody local that I may know, but easier.
Well, yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead, Eli.
I'm sorry. Thanks for that feedback, Jonathan. I think you're right. It's something when you have to move someone, it's much bigger risk. I think you have to spend a little bit more time and to make sure you don't get into the situations that you got yourself into. So, again, I said, usually there's a sense of urgency to try to bring in someone as quickly as possible. And sometimes one tends to take some shortcuts or believe that, yeah, this is the right person. But I think you should take the time to be very diligent in your approach.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if I look back at those three individuals, three hiring processes, and I analyze it, you're absolutely right, Eli. It was the shortcuts that I made is what got me came back to haunt me at the end. It was those little shortcuts.
We've been we're working with multiple shops right now in different parts of the country, and we're helping them with the relocation. And one of the frustrations, like, this is taking so long. It's like, yeah, but we have to make sure we do our homework, because if we don't, you end up with the wrong person. And then we averted some situations where the shop owner was eager to bring in someone. They talked to us, oh, this guy is wonderful, I got to bring him in. And then we did some reference checks, and we found out some things that were not very visible in the first interviews. And we kind of stopped, potential rain track.
Yeah, and I think it was that was more possible, maybe a decade ago. To not be as thorough. You make that quick hire, and it was a good chance that person was going to fit in and be able to work okay. But today it's just so important that you are very thorough. That you protect your company culture. That you be careful on who you're bringing onto the team.
Yeah. If you look at when you try to hire someone locally, you do much less due diligence, because you have to move very quickly. You're worried you're going to lose that great technician to someone else who may not be doing as much due diligence, because frankly, they are not very good at doing their homework and making sure, okay, is this shop the best shop for me? Is this the best career move for me? They go, and then whoever, they tend to follow the easiest path forward, and whoever makes it as easy as possible for them. So someone gives them a good offer, they like it, hey, they just accept it. And your shop may be a much better shop for them from a career perspective, and maybe eventually, long-term financially, but they just say, I don't want to hassle with it. Let me go with the easier path. When there's a relocation, they have no choice but to go through that process. So that's kind of what that gives you.
Bob, I know we've been chatting on the chat. Do you want to chime in here just real quick, Bob Ling, and talk about? I know your situation was a little bit different, but what was the your due diligence like on your hire? If you're still around and want to chime in, if you have anything to add on the due diligence process before you hired your out-of-state tech.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Bob.
Okay. Yeah. It wasn't.
You're in the Northwest, you said, by the way, right?
Correct.
Okay.
I'm in Silverdale, which is just directly about 11 miles across from Seattle, but it's not like Seattle at all. But anyway, yeah, I posted actually on Craigslist down in the Bay Area, and that's where he responded to. And he had a mother living up here, so he knew the area a little bit, but and he's not a tech, but he's very good. He'd been at a BMW dealer for 5 years, and yeah, so far so good for me. But again, it wasn't like I dragged him out of the Bay Area. He had already planned on coming up here because he was tired of the rents and everything else that was happening in the Bay Area, and just getting too expensive for him to live down there for what he was wanting to experience anymore.
Yeah,
so
if you need a gopher, I wouldn't mind moving up there from the Bay Area. I'm kind of tired of the rents as well. So I don't know if you need someone to sweep the floors, but
yeah, we can try you out for a while.
Okay, all right. I'll talk to the rest of the shop.
No offense to the Bay Area. I'm from Sacramento, so I know it very well. But
all right, awesome. Yeah, well, thanks for sharing that. I really appreciate that. We'll I'll show the polls that we were just looking at there, so everybody should be able to see those.
Oh wow, 100% yes. Okay, 83%. So okay, no one is in California. All right, you're avoiding the high rent. That's good. All right, good. Well, thanks. This is interesting. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Okay.
Continue on.
So, so we'll move on to the next section. All right, let's talk about 6 habits of most successful business owners. And I'm sure many of you are part of this and you can relate to some of these things. The first one is work on, this is a cliche, work on your business, not in your business. But and I've talked with some of these shop owners who have worked with coaches and have told them the same thing. And they still go back and say, well, my passion is wrenching. I love to go back and work on cars, which is good. I mean, if it's your passion, that's what you enjoy doing, that's great. But if your goal is to grow your business to the next level, to maximize your profits, you want to be able to utilize resources. You want to be able to be a lead and a coach and not spend a lot of your time is the most valuable time in the shop. Okay. So if someone can do the same job for 20, 25 bucks an hour, your time is a lot more valuable than that. So why do you want to, work for that? You have to look at your return on your time, the return on your investment, and really think, at the high level, what does my business need today? Which takes me back to your KPI. So when you're looking at analyzing your business, you look at all the KPIs, the key performance indicators that help your business succeed. And when you're involved in your business, you don't have the time to do this. Now, the average business owner looks at the only KPI they look at is what's my net profit. And I mean, that's an important. It's not a KPI per se, because it's really the result of the KPIs that you manage upfront that give you the high net profits. So it's looking at hiring the right people, maximizing the productivity of your technicians, doing the proper marketing to bring in your customers in, managing some of your costs. So a lot of different things in a business that you need to do that give you that very high net profit. And if you're very busy in your business, maybe in the front selling to customers, you're not going to have time to really lead and coach and look at all the knobs that you need to turn to improve your business. And again, it's always good to be in tune. Doesn't mean just go someplace else. It's always good to be upfront, talking with some customers, understanding. You always want to be in touch with the business. You want to know what your customers want, how they're responding, how you're being perceived. You also want to go back and coach your technicians, help them. If you are a master tech, let's say you professionally come from the technician world, not from a business world, it's good to go and coach and help your technicians and help get some cards out faster. But you don't want to lose sight of the bigger picture. And the other thing we notice is that they always try to find, interestingly, they're always trying to find ways to improve the business. I mean, these are people that know their business inside and out, yet they're always sitting on webinars like here. I commend you all for being here, listening to this, because hopefully there'll be 1 or 2 takeaways that can help your business. But they're always involved. They're involved with different coaching groups. They try one coach and they try a different coach. Then they go part of different automotive associations. They attend a lot of these webinars. They learn things. They're always seeking new information that can help their business and have them look at the business from a different perspective. They always think in terms of ROI. And I'll be surprised. I mean, I'm surprised to see how people the average shop looks at, okay, if I cut my costs, I'm going to improve my profits. And that's kind of their focus. A lot of people look at it that way. And the top business owners really look at it in terms of an ROI. If I make an investment, what is the return on this investment? And that's how they think and that's how they grow their business. And another thing, they focus on maximizing the gross profits. And they know that the net profits will follow. That's really the main thing. Once you have a business established, you have to think about it. You have the variable and invariable parts of your business. Now, there are a lot of things a lot of your costs, you're a fixed cost business. A lot of things you cannot change. You cannot change your lease, which is a big part of your cost. You cannot change your utilities. You cannot, there's a lot of things you cannot change in your cost. So things that you can change and can affect your bottom line are really your revenue, the margins on your revenue. These are some of the things that you can play with that will affect your bottom line directly. And the sixth one we'll talk about, I'll come back to later on. So one big fallacy that I've seen in terms of what is the value of a technician to a shop. So I want to get into maybe some of the economics. And interesting, I've heard this now a few times from different shop owners, and I try to kind of explain that, you know, they're not looking at it the right way. So let's take an example here. Your labor sales, let's say your labor is $125 an hour, whatever that number is. So the assumption I made here is your labor rate is $125 an hour, and your techs are producing $35, that you're flagging 35 hour per week on average over 50 weeks. So you come up with this amount. Again, the numbers are different at your shop. So, but just to illustrate an example, people say, oh, my EBITDA is 20%. So the value of my technician is 43,000 or 44,000 in this case. So, and this is where I thought, wait a minute, this is not correct, because they look at this, oh, he's only worth, so if I pay him $50,000, I'm losing money. And that's really a fallacy. So that's not really how you should be looking at your business. And the correct way to look at it is the following. So taking the same numbers, your labor sales. Now, you know that for every dollar of labor you sell, roughly more or less, you sell the same amount of parts. And then you add your margins. So now your total revenue is $437,000. You apply your margins. So let's say your margins are 60%. Now, if your margins are less than 60%, you have another problem you need to deal with. But typically in this business, your margin should be upward of 60%. A very well-run shop is closer to 65%. So, but that's kind of, these are the rough parameters. So that's the number we're looking at, $262,000. So the value of a technician is actually $262,000, or on a weekly basis, $5,000 per week. So somebody said, well, wait a minute. Well, I have my, I have to pay my rent, and I have to pay for my utilities and this and that. But you know what, as I explained earlier, these are fixed costs. It doesn't matter whether you have 3 techs or 4 techs, or those are not going to go away. But and to illustrate this, you can, you don't have to believe me on this, but go look at your numbers and look at a situation, compare month to month, assuming the amount of business was the same month to month, and look at where a situation where you lost a technician or you added a technician to your business. And you'll see that this number will be up or down in your EBITDA at the end of the day. So, and this is really what you have to look at. So going back to technicians and their value and why it's so important to hire these people, not to be short, is this $5,000 a week in this situation. In your case, it may be a little bit higher or lower. But when people think, oh, I don't want to spend a lot of money on, I hear this like, oh, I have to spend $75 on an ad or $500 on an Indeed ad or whatnot. When you look at it with the bigger picture, you're talking about impacting your bottom line $5,000 per week. So you can see that you have to be a little bit wise. You have to see the value in trying to get someone who's the right technician, of course, qualified technician as quickly as possible on board. And this is the value to your bottom line. So now let's go back to the 6th habit of top 2% of the most successful business owners. They recruit all year long. And this is most, if not all, business coaches are going to tell you exactly this. You can see the value to your bottom line. You got to be, given the market we're in and the shortage and how long it takes to find and recruit and hire a great technician, you have to be doing this all year long. And we have actually clients that do this with us all year long. Even if they're fully staffed. Just let me give you another statistic. Again, we see thousands of resumes. You know what the average job tenure for a technician? It's 2.5 years. So you can't believe the number of resumes that we see where people are just year after year, they change jobs. They spend 2 years one place, then they go someplace else. 1 year someplace, then they go someplace else. So you see a lot of this job hopping, and unfortunately, is getting worse with the younger generation. The millennials don't like to stick around any place for too long. So that means that if you have some technicians that have been with you for a few years, well, the possibility of losing someone in the next 12 months is pretty high. So this is why these shop owners are recruiting all year long. So maybe you can put out the next poll, David.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a couple questions. If everyone wants to chime in real quick. I've also been chatting in our chat. If anyone has any tips or tricks they've used to hire great help, or if anyone's actually calculated the cost to hire and train a technician, please chat me. We'd love to have you hop on at the end.
Yeah, while we take this short pause, any comments or questions, just time to discuss them right now. We'll have time at the end for more Q&A, but right now, if you have something you want to discuss quickly.
So this is interesting, and maybe you can speak to it, Elie, that no one has a recruiter helping with hiring. And I assume you asked that for a reason. So I'm curious to see what your thoughts on there after I'll share these polls right now. Hold on one second. So okay. Nobody uses a recruiter.
Yeah, and this is the you can see this paradox here. So 100% use accountants and 0% use recruiters. And my question is, why? Or why don't you use recruiters? It's the same exact thing. You go to an accountant because of their expertise. You go to the accountant so they can save you money, save you time. And recruiter exactly does that for you. So, and you can see the return on your investment of having a recruiter. Now, dealerships hire these, and I'm assuming no one here is we don't have dealerships here, but dealerships hire recruiters because they see the value of a recruiter. Some of them use external recruiters. Some of them have their own recruiters that they hire on a permanent basis because they have obviously they're a bigger operation. They have a lot more hiring needs. You don't need to hire someone internally, but you see the value of a technician on a weekly basis. If someone can help you earn an additional $5,000 per week, isn't that worth something? So this is why that perception needs to be changed. And in the current market we're in, and the shortage of technicians, and how difficult it is to hire someone, and how difficult to hire the right person, wouldn't you want someone helping you with this instead of doing it yourself in the very spare time that you have? I'm assuming all of you are extremely busy. So that's kind of one thing I wanted to put out for you to consider. And this is the direction of the industry. I can tell you most top shop owners are, these are the guys that hire recruiters. And you may want to take that as a tip for you. And it doesn't have to be us. There are a lot of great recruiters out there. So, but I want to encourage you to think outside the box and start thinking this. A lot of other industries use recruiters. For some reason, the automotive industry, the old school small shops is, hey, I don't spend any money. It's too expensive. I can put a sign somewhere. I can go on Craigslist. But again, those funnels have dried up, and you want to minimize the the time and cost of hiring the wrong person. Okay, so let's move on to the next topic. I know we're kind of short on time here, so I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. 6 tips to avoid applicant ghosting. Oh, did we get the response to that? How many people got ghosted? I'm sorry, I didn't see that one, David.
Yeah, sorry, no, yeah, it was about 20% have been ghosted in the last 12 months. I'm sorry, hold on, let me make sure that's right. No, I take that back. 60% have been ghosted.
Okay, that's more like it.
60%, yep.
Yeah. So there are some things you can do. You cannot eliminate 100%, but it is a trend, and it's very frustrating. It happens to us too when we go out, but we try to minimize it. So one thing, here are some 6 tips you can use. The first one, make sure you write a very compelling job ad. That's the number one thing. This is a perception the first perception that an applicant has about your shop. So you want to make sure you write something that's very enticing, and that's something we help all our clients with. But you can read up on it. There are some articles on it. There are some webinars on it. So please take the time to understand how to do this very well and implement it in your job, in your search for technicians or service writers or whatnot. Second thing I want to say, treat an interview as a date. And I've seen so many shop owners unfortunately, I hate to say this, treat employees as a commodity. And sometimes it's kind of, being ghosted so many times, or having people come in and resign quickly. It gets a lot of the shop owners very frustrated, and they start to not treat some of the technicians very well. And that's when you interview, you have to look at it. You have to treat the employee as an equal. You have to appeal to them. It's unfortunately that's the situation right now. They have to like you as a person. They have to like your business. They have to see a reason why they should come and work for you, as opposed to the guy next door who's also trying to get them. So there's a lot of competition. So you have to be very careful. You have to always be selling. And I tell people, you sell them in your ad, you sell them when you first engage them, you sell them when they come in the door, you sell them after they get out the door, you sell them afterwards until they walk in and start working for you. And you have to continue this, obviously, because otherwise they have to be happy and have a good experience working with you. The other way to really keep them very interested. So they come in, they get the interview. It's very good for your employees to tell them what a great place this is for them to work at, how much they enjoy working for you, what a great boss you are, what a great environment and culture you have. And it's easy for you to sell this, but applicants want to hear it from someone else. Okay, yeah, it's your own business. Of course you're going to say this. Have someone else say that about you. If you have a recruiter, the recruiters usually do this on your behalf, but also you want to have your own employees. So when they come in for an interview, don't just come in, talk to them for half an hour. Okay, I'll call you back. Have them come in, talk to you, have one of your employees take them on a tour, separately from you, without you being involved, tell them a little bit more about the shop, why they like to work there. And that makes a huge difference. You want them to leave the interview thinking, wow, this is the best place. I definitely want to work here. I hope they give me an offer. Keep them engaged. So again, this is from the first time you interface with them to the moment they actually tell you, they walk in the door with their tools, or if it's a service advisor, they walk in and start working. You want to keep them engaged. Even the moment you make them an offer and they say yes, there are 2 weeks where they could change their minds, where someone else, their current employer, may counter. So you want to stay engaged. You want to keep them warm during these 2 weeks. There's the most nerve-wracking, that's the most nerve-wracking period after you make the job offer and it's accepted. Because we've seen this many times where people accept an offer, they don't show up. We've seen even some technicians drop off their tools on Friday and then come back and pick them up on Monday. So you have to always be engaged and make them feel like you care and you want them, and they're a very important part of your business, and it's going to be a great opportunity for them. So it's this part is, I can't underemphasize this part. Next one, make communication human. Again, you want to connect with them. This is about building rapport with the candidate. When they come in, you want to break the ice quickly, telling a joke, make them feel comfortable, to again, the moment when they walk in the door and start working for you. You want to keep that human. You want to find out about, hey, tell them about your family, tell them about your family culture, listen and hear about their family, what they're doing. So all these things help with the communication. Say, okay, this person cares about me. Then I feel bad ghosting them, right? So the key is you want to maintain the communication, and you want to continue to have them be engaged and talk to you. And lastly, one other thing you can do is send them reminders about the interviews, give them direction. So little things you can do just to keep that communication and that interface. Say, hey, you're helping them. Hey, look, here's my address, and if it's hard to find, give them some tips how to get to your shop. Or if you're waiting for them someplace, you want to meet with them at a coffee shop, which may not be a bad idea, take them outside of that environment, show them where to go, how to find you, etc. So these are my 6 tips. Create a compelling ad, treat interview as a date, have your employees or recruiter tell the candidate about a great place, how great your place is, keep them engaged, make communication human, and finally send reminders about interviews and directions. So the last takeaways, again, finding technicians won't get any easier. So you need to think of better ways. You need to get the help, make sure you do it right so you can hire the right people. You need an unfair advantage, to be honest with you, to get the best technicians. You have a lot of competitions. It's no longer the guy across the street is beating you on and taking all your business. It's a matter of, can you service your customers? Can you service them well? And you need to find a way to get the best employees in the door to achieve this. And think and act like a highly successful business person. I hope some of these, the tips that I gave you you're already doing, which is wonderful. If something maybe you're missing, you may want to go back, maybe take a look at some of your KPIs. So ideally, the best way to be the best is to model the people that are the best, and that's how you get there. So hopefully there was something there that was useful to you. And finally, recruit all year long. And this concludes my presentation. So if you have any feedback for me, you have any questions, any way I can help you, please reach out. You can call me on my number or email me or text. I'll be happy to talk to you.
That was great. Thank you. Really appreciate it. And I appreciate those in the audience that decided to chime in and give us some of their personal experiences. Other people have messaged in, Eli, and said, they've been ripped off by recruiters, or they haven't gotten any qualified applicants from recruiters. So that was just some of the comments that were coming in.
Yeah.
But I guess.
Good. Yeah, and let me answer. Let me just give some feedback. You have the recruiter is someone you have to think of is a member of your team. Just like you hire an employee, you have to feel comfortable with your recruiter. You have to listen to their approach. They're not, one thing I have to say, they're not magicians, right? It's not you hire a recruiter, all of a sudden you're going to get 10 master techs walk in the door. So you have to kind of understand what they're going through and make sure they're batting for you. What you want to make sure that the person, whether it's a recruiter, an employee, they're trying their best to help you and trying to use their expertise to get you ahead. That's really the advantage. Just like, you hire an accountant or you hire any kind of person that you hire, you want to make sure they're trying the best for you and their goals are aligned with your goals. This is why the way we structure things, we make money when the hire is completed. So it's a win-win situation. The goals are 100% aligned. So that's the way we work, and we're always trying to find new ways and better ways that are more effective and help our customers.
That's great. Thank you, Elie. And some people have said they are interested in learning more about Mechanics Marketplace. I know you guys are really right now just in in the Bay Area, I think, and in California mostly. But I will definitely put you in contact with Bob, who asked about it being in the Northwest. We've got about a minute left, but a couple things.
I'm sorry, David. Just one correction. No, we're not just in California. We're in 17 states. We're nationwide. So we are helping clients everywhere in the US.
Oh, okay, great. I thought you guys were mostly just in California, but I guess in closing, we've got a minute left. If anybody is interested, please shoot Elie an email, and say you'd like more information. I think this idea of you pay when you get the service that you've been paying, that you're asking for, is really the model that, most people want to work with, right? Like, don't just send me leads and I'm paying for something that doesn't come through. I'm interested in paying for things that actually happen and come to fruition. So that's our hour. I really, really appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Thanks everyone for joining. If you have any questions, you know how to get a hold of me. My email is always in the webinar emails. And if you want to get a hold of Elie, you can simply just give him a call or send him an email or shoot me an email and I'll put you in contact with him. So any closing words? All right. With that, everybody, you're very welcome. Have a great day. Elie, thanks again. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, David. Thank you.
All right.
For
Take care.
For taking the time.
You're very welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.